Your Holiness, colleagues and friends, Namaste, Tashi Delek. I'm Dr. Anupam Sibal, a pediatrician and the Group Medical Director of the Apollo Hospitals Group and the President of the Global Association of Physicians of Indian Origin, GAPIO. To quote His Holiness, happiness is not something ready-made. It comes from your own actions. If you want others to be happy, practice compassion. If you want to be happy, practice compassion. Only the development of compassion and understanding for others can bring us the tranquility and happiness we all seek. With the COVID-19 pandemic, our work days are never ending. The pressure to keep ourselves updated with more than 165 scientific papers a day is intense. And the load of making difficult clinical decisions is hard to carry. The healers today themselves need healing and the wisdom to handle pressure. As we brace up to facing the challenges of COVID-19, we perhaps need more compassion than ever before. The medical community across the globe has united against the SARS-CoV-2 virus, breaking geographical and time zone barriers. HAPI in the US, BAPIO in the UK, CAPI and SINS in Canada, IMJA in Australia, and GAPIO have launched the Global Indian Physician COVID-19 Collaborative. This collaborative has brought together 1.4 million physicians of Indian origin from 49 countries on one platform. We would like to thank Your Holiness for giving us the opportunity to receive your blessings as we draw on all resources to continue our war against COVID-19. Thank you.
Thank you.
Namaste. Good morning, His Holiness. I'm Dr. Akshay Anand.
Oh,
I'm a professor and editor of Integrative Medicine Case Reports published at PGI Chandigarh. On behalf of Yoga Scholars PGI MER and the India Yoga Association Chandigarh, I welcome you to join our efforts to the rolling out of the evidence-based integrative approach in healthcare, so that the mental and the spiritual angle of healthcare providers, to which Dr. Anupam alluded to right now, who are under stress, as well as the patients, are catered to by the mental and the spiritual healing also, as is also brought out by the WHO document for holistic or the One Health program, as well as the Indian ancient text Ayurveda speaking about the patient, the attendant, the disease, and the aushadhi or the drug. We have been carrying out continuous educational series at our Facebook, bringing all the disciplines of molecular biology, yoga, medicine together and trying to engage people in research efforts. You always mention analyze, analyze, analyze. So we are trying to teach people how to do research, people from yoga and Ayush system, and provide them research designs, models, statistical tools, so that research becomes a movement and this evidence is used to roll out the integrative health agenda, which is more holistic for both the providers as well as the patients. We also feel, His Holiness, that the compassion may not be complete until compassion in medical practice may not be complete until we are able to integrate this with the other pathies such as Ayurveda, Siddha, yoga, meditation, which we have been continuously educating everybody about the scientific aspects of it and the evidence-based aspects of it. So I'm joined today, His Holiness, by a global expert group from public health, molecular biology, Ayurveda, medicine, neuroscience, psychology, from countries as diverse as New Zealand, Brazil, USA, and other Indian institutions. All these have come together and inspired by Dr. Elizabeth Blackburn, who's a Nobel laureate, also with us to have a dialogue with you and to learn the value of compassion and, if possible, to generate evidence of what compassion does to our healthcare and then maybe take ourselves to an intergovernmental agenda to roll out integrative health in all the hospitals that have physicians, which have Ayurveda acharyas, professors of yoga, and people who teach meditation and do meditation. And therefore, we look at this dialogue with you, His Holiness, as a biological link between our lifestyle and our health. And we want to bring in the biologists to come out of their labs and to put out this data to everybody in the public for healthcare. I'm joined today also with my distinguished colleagues, Elisa Apple from the University of California, Dr. Vikram Patel from Harvard, Dr. Sadbir Khalsa from Harvard as well, Ziva Khan from Singapore, and Dr. Ranil from Sri Lanka, Dr. Anita Jain from the British Medical Journal, and they're all, and other colleagues in the other screen that you can see, colleagues from All India Institute, New Delhi, NIMHANS, Bangalore, and other, we have Dr. Harpreet, Dr. Bala from Harvard, and all of them have come together to have a dialogue with you in order to come out with a research program which is global, translational, and for the help of all the patients out there. I would like to welcome you to this dialogue on integrative health and your own talk on compassion in medical practice by a shloka in Patanjali Sutra, Yogaschit Vritti Nirodha. It is the mental perturbations which have to be calmed down in order to undertake healthcare, research, or any activity. Welcome, His Holiness.
Thank you. Thank you. 다 그래. 그래. Indeed, I feel great honor, you see, discussing with scholars. So this kind of discussion, I also learn much thing. So one Tibetan as the scholar, I think at least a few centuries ago, he mentioned the we till achieve Buddhahood, we are student to learn, always learn, to learn. So I believe that. Now, about health, this body, the body element, and then with that, emotional element or mental element. So our health naturally related with our mind, our emotion, and physical sort of physical level. So mental level, as you mentioned, compassion, altruism, that brings inner peace, inner strength. So that brings peace of mind. So even you see some trouble or some people criticize, so you consider them as our teacher. You must feel gratitude, not sort of counter anger or like that, not that way. So the compassion is best sort of also the countermeasure for anxiety, anger. So that's one part. And then physical yoga, or for example, you see the breathing control, like that. So that is your sort of heart beating naturally, you see, reduce. And then, simple sort of practice I usually do, like that. When you gain more experience, then you see the breathing take, remain, and out. So they gradually, the period remain longer. So that breathing control, I'm quite sure, you see, those people who a lot of sort of anxiety and physical sort of the heart beating, this kind of practice certainly helpful, I feel. Although these ideas come from Indian traditional, Dharma text or religious, but these are, we can consider as a academic subject, not something dharmic sort of practice for nirvana or good life next time, like that. Not for that. Simply is how to build healthy body. And that also, you see, helpful to reduce anxiety. So now I have, the last few decades, I have serious discussion with scientists. Scientists mostly from West. So the Western cultural heritage is their background. So they whole life more materialistic sort of life, and education itself materialistic education. So to them, the ancient Indian experience, Indian thought, mainly about mind, they really appreciate. The modern scientists till recently, till the later the previous century, the 20th century, there is no idea about mind, about inner world. Now gradually those scientists now develop contact. Here, I think my own experience, then they gradually, they really appreciate, they realize their sort of education or their thinking, more materialistic way, is something lacking about our inner world. So these days, I usually use the word hygiene of physical, hygiene of emotion. The hygiene of physical, of course, the whole world, you should pay much attention about physical health. But about hygiene of emotion, something new. The emotion sort of, too much sort of emotion, too much sort of disturbed in mental level. That also is very important for healthy body. Too much worry, too much anxiety, and blood pressure
Rise. Increase.
increase like that. And then too much anxiety, heart attack like that. So therefore, the hygiene of physical plus hygiene of emotion must go together. So therefore now, you already sort of mentioned the yoga, these things. Very, very good. Now, I think then field of knowledge, no limitation. With modern scientific sort of equipment, our knowledge can increase infinite way, like that. So, for health reason, for health, as a matter of health, also you see combination, modern scientists, modern science, and ancient knowledge combined. I think very useful. Then, even practical level, now today's world, everybody wants happy life, peaceful world. But actually, many problems are essentially our own creation. We human beings create a lot of problems. Since many problems which we are facing is our own creation, therefore, now we have the responsibility to reduce these problems, since these problems are our own creation. So now, I feel important is education. Modern education, which mainly come from West. So in Western world, regarding peace of mind, these things only, you see, blessing from God. No, also the tradition, training our mind. In this country, in India, ahimsa with karuna, you see, over 3,000 years already developed the concept of ahimsa and karuna. And these also, you see, through practice of shamatha or practice of vipassana, over 3,000 years in this country. So regarding the mental peace, dealing with emotion, the 1,000-year-old India's tradition, I think very, very useful. According to my own little experience, you see, these 1,000-year-old India's tradition, dealing with emotion, is very, very useful. So now, I always say, expressing in 20th century, Mahatma Gandhi ji, you see, India's 1,000-year-old ahimsa, non-violence. Now he practiced that, and in political freedom fight, he implement ahimsa. And then he also show whole world non-violent struggle. So South Africa and in Europe, in America, many people, you see, very much attracted about Mahatma Gandhiji's non-violent struggle. One example, Bishop Tutu, totally following Mahatma Gandhiji's non-violence. Then Karsa,
Nelson Mandela.
Nelson Mandela, and Martin Luther King. So all these, you see, follow or impressed Mahatma Gandhiji's, you see, non-violent struggle. So now, time come, India's knowledge about how to build inner peace out of karuna. Now that not considered as a practice of religion, but these are how to say kasa
Secular.
shen ka
Academic.
ka
Academic. Academic.
academic training how to create mental peace. So sometimes I also have little sort of critical view during freedom fight. Mahatma Gandhiji should pay some attention about India's education. He simply, you see, accept the Western materialistic education introduced here by Britisher. When the India's education, you see, India, so they get freedom, should pay more attention about education. Now, with modern education, ancient Indian knowledge how to deal with our emotion, that should be part of our education. Like that. So now India, I think, since India, I think many parts of the world, I think really respect India and showing interest about India's culture, these things. So, firstly, in order to show world news, sort of more complete form of education, physical, including physical hygiene and emotional hygiene, these in education, India can do. Like quantum physics, one of my Indian friend, Raja Ramana, he told me, quantum physics in the West, something new. In this country, 2,500 years ago, already developed the concept of quantum physics. He told me, it is true. So he recite few sentences of ancient Indian great scholar like Nagarjuna. Because Buddhism, Buddha's time, I think his language more Pali language. Then gradually the Buddhist institution, Nalanda, developed. Originally, there's some education institution already there, I heard. So then they pay more attention about Buddhist philosophy and used the language, Sanskrit language. So many Nalanda master, they use Sanskrit word, and then you see the Nalanda tradition very much sort of investigation. Buddha himself, you see, express, oh, my follower, monks, nuns, and other should not accept my teaching out of faith, but rather thorough investigation, his teaching. So Nalanda scholars thoroughly investigate about Buddhist philosophy. So number of scholar, Nalendra, from Nalendra, you see, they extremely sort of, I said, they, use, I mean, extremely investigate about Buddha's philosophy, Buddha's teaching. So when we find some contradiction, Buddha's own word with their investigation, then they use the right to reject Buddha's own word. So the Nalendra tradition, I think now Sanskrit tradition, the Pali tradition, Sanskrit tradition. The Sanskrit tradition, I think extremely useful. Always use a logical approach, not faith, not belief. So now today, my own experience, last few decades, I have serious discussion, as I mentioned earlier, serious discussion with modern scientists. You see, no problem. Since we emphasize investigation, not just faith. And correct too. 당말이다.
좋아요, 말다.
저 영어로 뭐지?
슈르지.
가. Now health, as I already mentioned, the peace of mind should be part of part of health work.
Medical practice.
Physical health. Obviously, particularly the doctors, nurses. You see, I myself, so some experience when visit medical checkup in hospital, the doctors, nurses showing human feeling and smiling, then I feel much comfort. In 1954, I was in China. One Chinese doctor, very good doctor, when I get some problem, so he very serious, but usually he never smiles. Very serious face. So you see, doctor and the nurses, you see, with sort of sign of human sort of also warm feeling, the patients really feel much sort of comfort. Sometimes the doctor with modern equipment, you see, without a smile, then sometimes I may feel, sometimes you see, I feel, oh, there are some investigation or experiment on my body. So, doctor, nurses, more sort of the face, more sort of the compassionate face, very useful, very useful. Yes, now question.
Thank you, His Holiness, for very inspiring and very good talk, almost pushing us to explore educational research also, whether integration of the traditional and modern medicine can result in more compassionate doctors and professionals. I will speak out we have 3 questions from our organization, Yoga Scholars, another 3 from the Global Physicians. So I will start with the first 3. Before I ask my question, I would allow me to acknowledge the contribution of Dr. Elisa Apple, the professor at University of California, and Dr. Ishwar from Nangal, who is an Ayurveda Acharya and a member of the Arogya Bharati, fighting for prevention of disease in India. The first question, His Holiness, is from our distinguished guest speaker, Dr. Elizabeth Blackburn. She's a Nobel laureate. She got a Nobel in 2009. She grew up in Australia and got a PhD in Cambridge, UK, and then moved to USA. And now, after that, she worked at University of California, San Francisco. She discovered the telomere and the telomerases. These are the DNA fragments on the chromosomes which determine health and disease. So a lot of research, and after the discovery of telomerase, is trying to investigate whether chronic stress can have any implication on telomerase, which are known to be determinants of lifespan or longevity. And the question is open whether compassion can elongate or change the structure or the activity of telomerases. So she represents the biological community by providing a framework where the public health professionals on one hand, the spiritual people like you on the other hand, can bring out the benefits of biology for the good of patients and the physicians. I welcome Dr. Elizabeth Blackburn to please ask her question.
Thank you. Hello, Your Holiness. My question for you is inspired by a question about my scientific research that you asked me. It was about 14 years ago in Mountain Menla, the Tibet House retreat in New York State. And there several scientists had a meeting on longevity with you and Jinpa and Tibetan doctors. And back then, when I described to you the scientific studies that I had been involved in on the effect of long-term psychological stress on the shortening of telomeres, you asked me a powerful question that I've never forgotten. You asked, what about in people who have given up hope? And so we've now learned a lot about this kind of thing from the scientific research, that people who experience serious depression and the feeling of hopelessness do indeed have shorter telomeres, and that means they have premature body aging. In fact, it's this type of aging of their immune systems that can make them more vulnerable to viral infections, for example. And today we talked about the many troubles in the world, and this has made many people feel hopeless. And so in turn, I'd like to ask you, what would you advise each of us to do so that we can better help someone who has given up hope?
I think the short-sighted and too much desire and one-sided sorrow, that one-sided sort of attitude, then you see, there is much possibility give up.
Losing hope.
Losing hope. So now here, human mind, human brain have the ability to look everything more holistic. Now, for example, whole galaxies, there was a beginning. Now this moment now existing. Eventually, whole galaxy disappear. So then, we individual human being, certainly there is a beginning, and then remain, and then eventually disappear. It is nature. Then, within our lifetime, you see, problem is part of our life. But meantime, we have this intelligence. So basically, we have the ability to think, to find ways and means to overcome this problem. So if we think more wider perspective and more holistic thinking, then you see what's the that useful, you see, hopelessness, or just you see think narrowly and narrow-minded, then something happen, then you really feel hopeless. But if you have the more wider sort of perspective, more holistic view, then yes, there are some problems, but also you see there is possibility to overcome, like that. So these, you see, human intelligence, human wisdom, through education, as I already mentioned, modern education, the materialistic oriented. Now, Indian tradition about mind, you see, these should combine. Then you will not, you see, easily, you see, lose your hope or confidence, like that. So that I feel.
Thank you. Thank you. Wonderful.
So my own life, 1959, when things become very difficult, a serious sort of threat, even my own life. So actually in 1959, March 17th, then I left from Nobulinga, Summer Palace. Doubt whether I can see next sun or next day. Serious adversity situation. But I never sort of give up my hope. There may be some difficulties, but we must try. We must try. And without losing determination. Then 17th March 59, then 18th morning, and I feel great relief. Now, at least for the time being, no danger of my life. I reached southern Tibet when I saw new sun, something fresh. So, you see, the serious sort of situation, difficult situation, about threat of my own life, but without losing determination, hope. And I survived. No problem.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question, His Holiness, is from Professor Valerie Fagin. He's the editor and professor at the AUT University, Auckland, New Zealand. He's the editor of Neuroepidemiology. Dr. Valerie, can you ask your question, please?
Thank you. Your Holiness, given the growing body of evidence demonstrating direct links between open animal markets, industrial farming, and human health, including COVID and other similar pandemics, what would be your message to the governments?
Basically, if you judge our teeth, the shape of our teeth, and our nail, basically, we human body more equipped with vegetarian, not meat. Look, animal, tigers, leopards, these who always their life depend on eating meat. Accordingly, their teeth and nail equipped accordingly. Then deer, some other vegetarian animal, or their teeth, their nail, or not like tiger. So we judge our physical sort of situation. We more or less belong to the vegetarian animal. But you see, we too much desire, and then eventually, you see, I think in Tibet, like Tibet, in northern Tibet, no vegetable, no fruit. Even the barley also, you see, very rare. Then, such circumstances, the nomad area, there is no other way except, you see, they depend on animal meat, animal milk, like that. But then, basically, we belongs, as I mentioned earlier, vegetarian type. So now India, the vegetarian, there are many vegetarian, and Indian food, vegetarian food, excellent. So now we should pay more attention about, you see, non-vegetarian, because vegetarianism. India, millions of people, basically vegetarian. When I first came, the poultry almost not exist. A family, few hens, then chicken. Otherwise, you see, no big sort of
Poultry farm now. Poultry.
or poultry. Now, gradually, in the name of development, more and more poultry. So, at least India and those countries who can pay more attention about vegetarian food, then, you see, should not sort of pay more attention, spend more money for making poultry. And similarly, in West, beef farm. It's really terrible. So basically, we belongs to vegetarian sort of physical. So now we make more effort for the development of vegetable and fruit. That also, you see, some sort of also the connection about environment. Beef farm is for ecology's viewpoint also very harmful. So, like a beef farm. Then some difficult thing is fish. People, those sort of concerned people, seems to say no feeling. They also painful experience of fish. I think they consider just like a vegetable. But in some area, their whole life depend on fishing. There is a story in Tibet, one lake, Yamrotho. There's some family, their whole sort of livelihood depend on fishing. So the story says one great practitioner, yogi, he sort of prey, no longer fish. He some kind of communicate with Naga, you know Naga. Oh, there's some special sort of also spiritual also the being in who control lake water. So he sent a message, should not make more fish. Then gradually number of fish reduce. Then some family whose whole life used to depend on fish, then they facing starvation. So they complain to that yogi. Then he say, oh, fish life, human life more important. So then he allowed, there is no other way for livelihood, only fishing. So you should be exception. So those people, a nomad area and cold climate, there's no other way to live except on animal. That is something different. But now today, we can develop more vegetable, more fruit, more sort of the vegetarian food. So, and reduce farming because of beef farming. Ecologically, also you see, good. Beef farm, very bad. And then, in order to develop vegetarianism, instead of beef farm, big beef farm, we should develop a vegetable garden, I feel. So I myself, of course, when I first reached India as Tibetan, usually Kasadi, a non-vegetarian. After I reached India, 64, I give up. I determined, now I should be vegetarian, no longer eating meat. So at that time, one occasion, I visit Japan with my elder brother. When we lunch together, or food together, he always teasing me. He enjoy meat. I'm vegetarian at that time. So he always teasing me like that. So next, about 20 months, I remain vegetarian. Then I developed the problem, jaundice. And whole body become yellow. So later, I sort of express with jokes. At that time, I become truly living Buddha. Whole body become yellow. Not through practice of dharma, but through illness, my body become yellow. Then Western allopathic doctors and Tibetan doctors, you see, they suggest to me, now maybe better to return original sort of food style. So that's my story. And then I, because of that sort of, then you see my sort of jaundice, global, gallbladder. You see, stone develop because I remain vegetarian, and according to my Indian friend, I took a lot of nuts. So it developed some problem in my gallbladder. And then finally went to Delhi hospital, and then my whole gallbladder removed. So sometimes I jokingly telling people, this person, you see, physical looks sort of healthy, but no longer one important, physical element. Gallbladder no longer there. But okay. So then I return original sort of the style. Occasionally eat some sort of say non-vegetarian food. But meantime, all our major monastic institutions in India, their common kitchen should serve vegetarian food. So they implemented that. Then also many of our colleges, also you see follow vegetarian food. So I myself, because of the illness, you see, become non-vegetarian. But meantime, I create promotion of vegetarianism. So now I want to sort of suggestion, beef farm. In India, I think better, but in Western nation, a lot of beef farm. Now that I think eventually should reduce, and the place use beef farm should be because of the vegetable garden. So that I think two ways some benefit. One way, as I mentioned earlier, ecology. Beef farm very bad for ecology. So that's my view.
Thank you very much.
The next question, His Holiness, is from Dr. Danilo Santiella. He is a yoga professor and the head of research in University of Sao Paulo, Brazil. Over to you, Dr. Danilo. Please unmute your mic.
Thank you, Your Holiness and distinct colleagues. It's an honor to be here. Your Holiness, since Your Holiness is both fond of science and also a keeper of one of the most secular traditions, what would you consider to be the greatest challenge for those who seek to find scientific evidence regarding applications of traditional practices such as yoga, Ayurveda, meditation in healthcare?
I think basically, as a result of my discussion with modern scientists, they up to late 20th century, they never pay attention about mind, about emotion. Even they, you see, no idea about mind, only brain. Now, later part, some scientists now actually carrying some investigation, and some practitioner who can meditate, you see, few hours. When they meditating, some equipment put on their head, they found some differences. The brain movement while they meditate, single-pointed meditation, the brain activities much less. Like that. So then gradually, now many scientists now accepted beside brain, there is mind who can control our brain. So for that, meditation is something very useful. So now some scientists now really, you see, carry some research work. And then also, in some cases, you see some Tibetan practitioner, when they passed away, their breathing stopped. Then the movement of heart stopped. Then blood circulation about brain also stopped. But body remain, sometimes even few weeks remain very fresh, including my own senior teacher,
13 days.
13 days. And then some practitioner and also scholar in South India about
21. 21 days.
19 days. 19.
19 days. Physical remain very fresh. So now some Russian scientists, also some American scientists, now they left here some equipment, person who generally passed away, no longer breathing or no longer heart beating, but body remain very fresh. So such people, now last few days, you see some people, you see remain like that. In South India also. So one Russian, I think Moscow University, some Russian scientists, you see they also now pay much attention about this case. So now among the scientists, while they accepted beside brain, there is mind. And with that mind, you see the important practice of compassion. So now some scientists also now paying more attention about practice of compassion, like that. So in now modern time, now in last few decades, now among the scientists, the word of compassion, now they use the compassion like that. Previously, you see people consider compassion is a religious matter. Now, compassion is for physical physical comfort, physical health, compassion, something important. Then ultimately, world need more compassion. Now here, one so good thing is, some scientists, they say we are social animal. Any social animal, see, from birth, they have some kind of sense of concern of their own community, because their whole life depends on community. So we are social animal. Other animal, also you see those social animal, by nature, you see, they have more sense of concern about their own community, like some animal. So we belong social animal. So by nature, you see, we human being more compassionate. As soon as we're born, our life entirely depends on mother's compassion and the family members' compassion. Then the family also, you see, their livelihood depend on community. So now, judging that sort of because of the reality, now we 7 billion human beings are social animal, individual human being. Their life depend on the community. In the sense of community, now today, Eastern world depend on West, similarly North and South. So now, national boundary not important. Important is we all 7 billion are human brothers, sisters. One of my main commitment is try to promote human compassion or human loving kindness, irrespective of whether religious person or non-religious person, or even within religion, this religion, that religion, in spite of different philosophy, different tradition, all religion carry one message of love, forgiveness, tolerance. So, in spite of different philosophical view, the main message is same. So therefore, then now large number, I think out of 7 billion, perhaps, I think a few billions non-believer, but doesn't matter whether believe religion or not. We are human being. We live side by side. So we need human sense of concern of other human being. We really need 7 billion human beings are same human being, and we have to live together. So we should, and all 7 billion human beings, as a social animal, there is sort of, or say the nature sort of naturally some kind of potential of altruism, taking care about other human brothers, sisters. So my commitment is try to promote human compassion, human altruism on the sense of oneness of 7 billion human beings. That is, I think, the best way to bring peaceful world, or spend more money, making more weapon, or buying more weapon, not human way. These are serving human anger, human sort of also the destructive emotion. So on the basis of oneness of 7 billion human beings, then we can really develop a peaceful world. So now, this is the politically also now, these views are very important. All this violent war, so based on national interest. So now, when we talk about 7 billion human beings, oneness of 7 billion human beings, then the very basis of violence not there. We all same human being. I want happy life. They also want happy life. So one human being try to kill other human being. Impossible. Impossible. Isn't it? So through education, we can really develop peaceful world. If
Your Holiness, the Global Indian Physician Collaborative aims to foster cross-systems learning to arrive at the best possible approach to prevention and management of COVID-19. Today we have with us our leadership, Dr. Pratap Reddy, Dr. Sudhakar Jonalagada, Dr. Suresh Reddy, Dr. Sanku Rao, Dr. Anupama, Dr. Sudhir Parekh from the US, Dr. Ramesh Mehta from the United Kingdom, Dr. Sunil Patel and Dr. Arun Garg from Canada, the Executive Committee of GAPIO, and our members from 49 countries. So 3 of our leaders would like to ask questions, Your Holiness. And let me invite Dr. Sudhakar Jonalagada, gastroenterologist and hepatologist from the US, who is the president of the American Association of Physicians of Indian Origin, API. Dr. Sudhakar, please.
Namaskar, Your Holiness. This is Sudhakar Jonalagada. I am from Georgia, United States. I represent over 100,000 doctors in this country, American Association of Physicians of Indian Origin. I am from Guntur, Amravati, where I born. I'm sure the land is blessed by you, and you came to that town actually in Amravati a long time ago. My question to you, how can we explain faith, religion, and spirituality to our children?
As I mentioned earlier, all major religious traditions, you see, inspired in different philosophy. Some say there's God, creator. Some say no God, creator. So theistic religion, non-theistic religion. So philosophically, there are differences. But all carry, as I mentioned earlier, all carry message of love, compassion, forgiveness, tolerance. So whether you accept the religious sort of the system or tradition, but essence of all religion is very relevant to today's world. Then I think to children, if you ask, you see, children, student or kindergarten, do you prefer mother's smile or angry face? Naturally, they say smiling face. I usually describe my teacher, first teacher of compassion is my mother. My mother almost, you see, never show negative face. Always, you see, compassionate face. So we can say to student, do you prefer smile teacher or a teacher with quite strict, and occasionally a small beating? Then naturally, you see, student prefer those teacher who really always take care of the student and showing smile. So then student get the feeling, oh, this teacher really, besides teach us classroom, but really taking care about me, about all my life. So such, I think, such case, the student, when enter classroom with teacher smiling, showing warm feeling, then student feel much happier. So according to their own experience, loving kindness, altruism is something very important. So the student themselves, while they study about academic subject, you should keep warm-heartedness in order to you get more friend. You see, this smile, warm-heartedness is most important part. So brain through education, very smart brain without warm-heartedness here, you see, there's no guarantee that smart brain bring more trouble, more enemy. With sort of bright brain combined with warm-heartedness, then education itself then become constructive. No matter how sort of knowledgeable person, full of anger, they themselves not necessarily happy. And they create more problem in the society. So now in education, combination, warm-heartedness and knowledge here, this should come together. So we can ask students, according to their own experience, they prefer smile. So then we can tell them, oh, now you should be more compassionate person with this knowledge. Then you become more useful member of the society. Okay.
Tuche Naam, Holiness. And the next question is from Dr. Ramesh Mehta, pediatrician from the UK. Dr. Ramesh is the president of the British Association of Physicians of Indian origin, BAPIO, and past president of GAPIO. Dr. Ramesh Mehta, please.
Tirvada, Jodi. I really admire, you see, those, I really admire, you see, those.
Dr. Mehta, mute yourself.
Those doctors and nurses who really helping, serving people who have this illness. I really admire their courage. Even to some extent, they sacrifice their own life, serving people. So I really admire. Then, now this
Pandemic.
Ka.
This pandemic.
Ka.
Pandemic.
This illness, very unfortunate. Whole world. In this, as I mentioned earlier, you see, I always look holistic way. So then Indian tradition, some ancient Indian sort of scripture mentioned eventually we human being on this planet eventually, you see, disappear. The factor, the period of violence, now that already happened. Previous century, First World War, Second World War, then a lot of people still have the sort of view of weapon, military forces is basis of power. So that old thinking, actually, time gone. In order to build peaceful world, now these military forces no longer use. And actually, I often, you see, express the military or use weapon is old thinking. When you see society, feudal system, kings, queens, and sometimes even religious leader, they rely using force. Now modern time, in democratic sort of world now. So if we investigate, if you ask individual soldier, I think they prefer without any sort of sacrifice their life. But from outer sort of order, go there, fight. So they have to carry a weapon. But otherwise, the individual soldier, if we ask them, you prefer not killing each other, I think they must feel that way. So therefore, the very concept of war is outdated. So now, I usually used to say, this century should be century of dialogue. Whenever we find some disagreement, some difficulties, we have to find mutually agreeable solution. So this century should be century of dialogue. So then weapon, military forces no longer use any sort of problem, disagreement through talk and try to find mutually agreeable solution. And keep in our mind, we all 7 beings are same human brothers, sisters. We have to live side by side on this planet.
저한테 암지소라 믹스에 간년 친구 책에서 디 셈뭐 심해야 되는데 자갈럽지.
So now, those doctors, nurses who really also they determined to serve, to help those people who have this illness, or in spite danger, or they themselves get some danger, or now here, as I mentioned before, the doctors, nurses, with full of sort of sense of concern or altruism, thinking about the patient, full of enthusiasm, maybe, you see, some inner protection. So working, meantime, a little bit sort of hesitate. As I mentioned earlier, you see, the one period violence, one period illness, then final period famine. Then world disappear. So there's ancient Indian literature mentioned like that. So we are now facing the time of illness. Maybe in any way, you see, we should keep self-confidence and determination. And then meantime, you see, the scientists, they already now carry some experiment, research work. So wonderful. So without losing also the enthusiasm, we should face this, and according sort of each community's profession, you see, use. And ordinary people, you see, keep sort of inner strength. And then here, the one simple answer, the ancient 8th centuries, one Indian great scholar, now he mentioned, any problem we should analyze. If that problem can overcome, then no use worry. If the problem there's a way to overcome, then effort should make effort. So I think that's quite realistic. If situation, you see, in any case we cannot avoid, then no use too much worry. You should accept. Whole world eventually disappear. Now, according to some environmentalists, Now they say next few decades, global warming now increasing. And after the few decades, then the global warming reach such a sort of level, then most river may dry. So there's a nature process. These are not man-made, but actually it's a nature process that way. But meantime, we should pay more attention about ecology. Like Tibet, the sources of water, whole Asia, China, India, Bangladesh, Pakistan, major river come from Tibet. So sometimes I describe Tibet is supplier of water for few billions of people in this part of the world. So now preserve ecology in Tibet is something very important. This is not only benefit for 6 million Tibetan people, 6 or 7 million Tibetan people, but the whole Asia, ultimate sources of water, river from Tibet. So now ecology, something very important. When I was in Tibet, no idea about ecology. And only reach India and visit some different countries. And then they say, oh, this water you cannot drink, polluted, too much polluted. Then I noticed, I learned, oh, same water in Tibet, you see, when we feel thirst, we can drink any water. After we come out, then even same water, you see, some cannot drink, too much polluted. So then I pay more attention about the ecology, pollution, these things. In Sweden, because of Stockholm, in the center, one big river, some of my friends, they told me some time back, no longer any fish, because beside this river, many factories. Then gradually, you see, people take more attention, pay more attention about, you see, the ecology. So that I think at least maybe around 5-10 years ago. And then gradually some fish reappear. So we have sort of some responsibility to pay more attention about this water pollution. Then we can do. And
global warming, ozone layer.
Ozone layer. One occasion with some scientists, they mentioned ozone layer. Since we pay more attention about ecology, these things, and try to use, because of the pure energy, wind energy, solar energy. So ozone layer, you see, protected, much less because of the damage. So we have, you see, some responsibility, and if we pay more attention, if we take some action, you see, we can save ecology like that.
Your Holiness, thank you very much. Great Britain has suffered really badly with this pandemic, and more than 45,000 people died. But you know, your message has been very soothing, and Thank you very much.
Thank you. The last question, the final question is from Dr. Sudhir Parekh, an expert in asthma and allergy from the US. Dr. Sudhir Parekh is the Secretary General of CAPIO. Dr. Sudhir.
Namaste, His Holiness. Warm regards from the New York City and USA. His Holiness, can you guide us? What is the role of religion in a world affected by an unprecedented crisis like the COVID pandemic? Please guide us.
I feel, as I already mentioned, all religion, you see, their main message is loving kindness, altruism, and with that, forgiveness, tolerance, self-discipline. So these, whether you believe the complicated philosophy, religious philosophy or not, the real essence of religious teaching, loving kindness. And that, firstly, as I already sort of mentioned, we already discussed, the mental peace brings physical health, as I already mentioned. Now then, as a human nature, when we face some desperate situation, then religion provides us some sort of basis of our hope. Oh God, oh God, oh God. When you completely fail through your own effort, then still believe God, oh God, like that. So God, some mysterious sort of thing that provide many people, is when they really facing situation of totally hopeless, then still God, 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 like that. The most important, you see, to use the God's message or Buddha's message, loving kindness. And then the Nalanda tradition, Indian tradition, now scientists also paying more attention about anything exist with interdependency, no absolute sorosity, truth.
Existence.
Absolute existence. Any existence due to other factor. So that's perhaps I think unique Buddhist concept. The Sanskrit word patit samupanda. Everything interdependent, interconnected. So now modern science also, you see, everything. You see, very nature of existence is many factor, like quantum physics now appears something independently exists. The reality, everything, you see, depend on their particle. So now quantum physics, they say, nothing exists as appears. If we investigate, finally, the observer, so long observer there, then things there. When observer no longer there, then difficult to say whether this exists or not. So that's exactly one ancient Nalanda tradition, mind-only school of thought, quite similar. Independent external thing, not there. All dependent sort of concept, like that. So therefore, the quantum physics say there is big differences, appearance and a deeper reality. Now, deeper reality, everything, every sort of existence, interdependent, not absolute. So therefore, you see that philosophy or that view very helpful, you see, to reduce the or emotion, destructive emotion. Destructive emotion very much based on appearances. When you appearance objectively exist, then good thing objectively exists, bad thing objectively exist. So the grasping,
No.
grasping, this is good, this is bad, more or less independent, since things appears something independently. For that, one's even concept also the kasa
Understanding.
concept kasa
Interdependence.
under
Quantum physics.
quantum physics. Even quantum physics, you see, there is nothing independent as appears. So some student who study quantum physics as far as I know, in China, some university is a student who study quantum physics. You see, they eventually they feel nothing independently exists there. So that reduce the grasping. All destructive emotion based on that. That's Acharya Nagarjuna clearly mentioned that. All destructive emotion is very much based on the concept or belief things exist objectively. So therefore, 안디간 저어디 가라고.
저기 다들 나염디 트레일러 최디 대화를 용하세요. 그리고
So, firstly, this uncontrollable, disease. When we face these problems, firstly, according to doctors, scientists, what they advise, we should follow according to their advice. Then, when things become really difficult or already get something, then try to keep your determination, self-confidence. Then now here, I think India's 1,000-year-old concept, Atma, beside this body, there is soul or separate being, soul or Atma. So the end of life, just this physical, not being itself. The Atma, no beginning, no end. So this body, like clothes, when our clothes no longer useful, then we can change. Similarly, this body, when become no longer use, then die. Atma still there. From Buddhist viewpoint, you see, the mind, this physical and mind, there are several levels of consciousness. For example, in our daily life, during dream time, another level of mind. And during sleep, deep sleep, without dreaming, further deeper. So at the time of dying, death, the consciousness which is related with our brain no longer now function. But subtle mind still there. So as I mentioned earlier, some people after clinically dead still remain, body remain fresh. You see, they remain that very subtle level of mind. So that subtle level of sorry. subtle level of mind, no beginning, no end, like Atma. You see, there is sort of logical sort of any mind momentarily changing. So since things are changing, it must depend on its own causes. Among the causes, substantial cause and because of cooperative cause. So cooperative cause, this is brain. Substantial cause, continuation of mind. So at the time of conception, I asked one occasion some doctor, the father's semen, mother's the blood or the egg. Whenever you see these two meet, it is 100% take life. The doctor said no. So then, that case, there should be third cause. So now, for this body, semen and mother's egg created this body, but still not sure whether life take or not. So that shows third factor. That is, according to our sort of tradition, clearly mentioned the subtle mind. Always is after death, go that way, always. And then here, karmic link also there. So then the fertilizer there. Then the subtle mind, as soon as subtle mind enter, then life start. So now the subtle mind, whether you call Atma or not, no beginning, no end, continuously. So that's our explanation. Then on that basis, you see some people who remember about past life. Myself, you see, when very young, 2-year-old, there is some indication. I remember about past life. Then my sort of, the Tibetan government search party reached my family. This remote village, small village. So that very day, my mother told me, that very day, from early morning, I very much excited. So mother wondering why this boy, Matsuru, wake up early morning and Matsuru excited. Then some unknown few people come. Then immediately I rushed towards them and recognized some of these people who have close connection with previous Dalai Lama. So suppose these are remember about past life. But unfortunate or fortunate, now no longer remember about past life. If you see, remember past life, and then a lot of problems also can remember. So better not remember. So there are some young Tibetan, even if you see some, I think foreigner, you see, and one Indian. I met one girl, one boy. They remember very clearly about their past life. Their past sort of the life where they remain, the family name and name of parent, like that. I'm mad, actually. You see, like that. So therefore, there is something can remember. Or recently, one Tibetan boy, when he was very young, in Tibet, correct. Oh, he remember, you see, in Tibet, he say, this is not my place. My place is India. That is the boy exists. Insist. Then eventually the parent come here. Then the boy say, no, this is not my place. And boy insist in South India. Then the parent brought that boy to South India. And then that boy, you see, pointing one big monastery in Kandan monastery, he mentioned, this is my place. Then the young boy, you see, Kasoda, lead to parent that monastery and lead one room. He mentioned, this is my room. And then, quite strange, he mentioned in the table. You see, he mentioned my glass there, and open, yes, that previous life's glass there. So you see, strange things you see there. But then, fortunately, now that boy, he studied in South India. Now, one occasion he came to see me, then his age about 10. I asked, do you remember past life? And he said, no. And I felt, oh, fortunately, I found my companion who, at a young age, remember past life very clearly. Then now getting older, no longer remember your past life. So my companion. Like that. So this life after life. So according according Hindu, believe Atma. According Buddhism, no Atma, but subtle level of mind continuously go there. So this concept also is useful. One way always give us hope. This life difficult, but next life will be happy life. And through lives, then our spiritual experience, life after life, you see, improving. So my own case, some subject, difficult subject, for me very easy. So that shows that difficult subject, my previous life, I familiar this subject. Otherwise, you see, many people consider this subject very difficult, but for me, not difficult. So that there must be causes. So my previous life, familiar such a subject like that.
Tuche Nang, Your Holiness, may I now invite Dr. Pratap C. Reddy, founder chairman of Apollo Hospitals Group and founder president of GAPIO, Padam Vibhushan, Dr. Pratap C. Reddy. Please.
Right.
Your Holiness,
Oh.
my namaskars, and it's been such a pleasure hearing you talk about the mind and the heart and the way they are connected, and Atma and the previous lives. So it's been an exhilarating experience for every time we hear you.
Karsa.
But the entire physicians of the world, today you have given a message about this terrible pandemic which has affected almost the entire world. Over 225 countries are affected in a very, very short time. Just at the time when the medical community was getting ready to face another major health crisis called the NCDs. The diabetes, the heart attacks, the stroke, cancer. So this has come on so suddenly and created this huge panic in people and great effort from the medical community. We thank you for wishing them, the doctors, the nurses, and all the community for what they are doing. And we are indebted to you for your blessings that all will be well. So that, you talked about this time will move to the next level. We also hope that your good wishes will bring us. Still, we don't know what medicine is going to act, what vaccine will act. I hope that the blessings will act towards that so that we'll get over this COVID, not only the fright, but the disease, if it goes, I think it will make a tremendous impact because the whole world literally is paralyzed. What is working at home? So staying at home, but fear saying that the disease is right in the street, we don't know when it's going to enter our home. So I think such a things you have given us great comfort that your blessings will go a long way towards the humanity and assurances. And I think we as doctors will convey to our patients to have that confidence that things will improve. Again and again, I can say, Your Holiness, it is such a wonderful thing listening to you and the way you express it. And the last part, when you talked about the previous generation, how they remember, and how each generation, your intelligence will improve. Again, is something which we all will note. And sometimes if we do very well, we remember it. If we can't do it well, we'll remember you again, saying that we forgot what we learned. Thank you, Your Holiness.
Thank you.
We are all grateful to you for your advice, and I'm sure your prayers for the world citizens to get over this COVID crisis and immediately give us that tools to cure that other huge pandemic that is there, that is a non-communicable diseases. Because they say by end of this decade, 80% of the deaths will be from those 5 diseases. And the cost burden is going to be so huge, $30 trillion to the world. And for India alone, $4.8 trillion. So we need your guidance, your help, and your prayers so that we as physicians can perform our duty with a confident saying there is blessings behind us and we will do our very best. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I had many words, but I think all of us are so happy. Many physicians from across the world are here, and many of your disciples across the world are here. And they heard this, and your words of comfort and COVID will be of great value to
Thank you.
Gratefulness to you, Holiness.
Tuche Nang, Your Holiness, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now, these days, I always sort of express or insist the ancient Indian knowledge, including our mind, psychology, these things I think very useful among the human being who have this brain thinking about our emotion. As I briefly mentioned, the very nature of our destructive emotion. Destructive emotion based on ignorance. The constructive emotion based on reason. So there is real hope. You see, through education, through knowledge, you see, training our mind, through reasoning, we can develop karuna, maitri. So these positive emotion, through sort of reasoning, the destructive emotion such as anger, fear, So further investigate, not clear, because all just emotion. Finally, depend on ignorance. Therefore, that's the really basis of our hope. Emotion, all emotion, constructive emotion, destructive emotion, a part of our mind. But differences, destructive emotion based on appearance, constructive emotion based on reason. So, with fuller knowledge about ancient Indian psychology, you see, we can change our mind, our being, like that. So please, just this morning, I always talk some Indian police. This morning I mentioned, traditionally, you Indian were our guru. We are chela. Now modern India seems chela become guru. Traditional guru now have to act like chela. So now, my point is, modern India should pay more attention about this ancient Indian knowledge and combine modern knowledge, modern education, and ancient Indian knowledge combined. Modern education, very important for physical health or material development. The ancient Indian knowledge, you see, very useful for emotional, mental health. And that also the India's 1,000-year-old tradition, secular, not based on religious faith, secular way. So that I want to remind my Indian friend. Now you should act through study, eventually become guru. Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.